please let me share with you a story about Garden One. It's an indoor edible garden located inside of Better World Museum. I wanted to create a more equitable, safe space in which welcomed people inside of a public environment, inside of the very center of the city, which is not always welcoming to every person in the city. A 1 or 2 block radius in which many people face vulnerabilities. We started painting in the garden before the garden could come. I had this idea of creating a garden, and I didn't want to wait to plant seeds. so right away, what I had with me are some paint and some walls and some technology. So we would use augmented reality, and people from the community painted those murals. 1,500 people who were visitors came in over the course of the summer and worked on it. And as that would happen, people would take an extra step forward and introduce themselves and become more involved. And I realized that, we're creating leadership roles. Then 12-year-old, now 13-year-old Rebecca, who is a specialist in nitrates, stepped forward and was inspired to get involved and started her own Instagram where she shares scientific information on Instagram. Experiments with DNA with strawberries. She is the person to follow. Started out by just drawing a couple of flowers on my computer in virtual reality using an Oculus Rift and a tilt brush. And then I tweeted a link online inviting anyone in the world to contribute to it. All over the world contributed and are still contributing to this VR garden, and it was presented at TEDx Minneapolis. The Garden One prototype came from an open source plan which was originally designed by Space 10. And then IKEA source Garden, and anyone can download the plan and then build it or modify it. So I proposed to speak at the IoT Fuse Festival, and I was accepted, and then I found out that somebody else who was part of the organization was also working with this structure, and they had created it there at the conference, and so immediately it formed another partnership, and now we hold their structure, how it can be a sustainable structure. And not just a sustainable structure for creating gardens, but also a generator of community making. And so the first thing we wanted to do when we added it is to dissolve the need for anyone to ever ask permission if they could water or pick any plants. We want everyone to feel as though they are able to pick all the radishes because, well, it's part of the project. It's easy to know that you can do this because LED lights connected with soil sensors will inform the public which areas to pick or which areas to water. So it will democratize the space immediately. We like to dissolve that question. We're interested in creating equity, inclusion, and growing better together, and we see it as a model that can not just be repeated in our museum, but in schools, hospitals, senior homes, universities, and homeless shelters. Everywhere there's human life. We would like to create an edible corridor throughout our entire city, and if not, linking cities throughout the world. And everybody, before we're able to plant in the garden, we've certainly been drawing in the garden. So members, again, throughout the world have been adding, well, here's one person added some tomatoes inside of the VR garden. And anyone can really draw. You don't need access to virtual reality to contribute. If you find that your strength is in storytelling or in dance or in movement, there's a place for all of these. Equally as if your interest is in data visualization, robotics, or other branches of engineering. We have a half day about every 10 days or so. They will continue again in about 1 month from now. And here we have Jessica, our leadership council now. So here she's demonstrating how she is using plastic bottles to create hanging bottle gardens. Diffuse brought over the structure and they set it up, and I could tell right away that everything, that there were some modifications to the structure that needed to be made. It wasn't ADA accessible. The entrance is really small. Even somebody who with a larger body or someone with a winter coat or a walker or a big bag would have a hard time comfortably feeling like entering the space. And then there's height issues, so somebody in a wheelchair would not be able to pick mint at the top or strawberries, for instance. So there's some issues with it, in which has only inspired my whole last year to remodify the structure. So, and many people face mental health issues. So I also learned through this person's visit, when they wanted to plant a seed in every container, that I will need an area exactly for that. There needs to be free planting. In fact, there needs to be seed balls so people can take their seeds and plant wherever they go. I didn't restrict her. She planted seeds in every pot, and that was wonderful. I was really happy, and I nursed them and watched them start to grow. And then we had to move. I was like, okay, so the garden won. We're just going to pack it up, but that's okay. Augmented reality with the members of the Best Buy Teen Tech Center, who are also now embroidering these garments with these urban edible augmented reality flowers. So it's a way that they can feel the streets, give them agency and aliveness, and through working with the library's collections, we're making the plants in our environment relevant and important. So now we've opened up the entrance, we're painting it, and we're getting it ready for the lights. And the next thing we're going to do is plant those seeds. And everyone in the community is welcome to join us to do this together at Better World Museum. So we're looking at many ways of making an opportunity to grow better together. Thank you so much.